Are you supporting somebody living with dementia and finding it harder to connect with them? In this episode of the Able to Care podcast, I'm talking to dementia engagement specialist Florence Tyloo about why activities matter, how they reduce stress, and how simple moments can become powerful bridges back to the person you love or support. So, Florence, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a genuine pleasure to have another conversation with you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you
I'm
so
loving
much.
I'm loving the games you've got in your background. By the way, I feel like if in any way I'm uninteresting, you can amuse yourself because I know you're going to be interesting. So, I kind of want to see if occasionally you throw stuff just to see you're so used to it you're going to know how to get something in that basket from behind you. So let's jump straight in a little bit because obviously you're a specialist in activities for dementia, but I think there's misconceptions around that. So when people hear activities in dementia care, they often think about bingo, colouring, or just keeping somebody busy and out the way.
Yeah.
How would you explain what meaningful activity really is?
So, to me, when I look at activities, there are different things that I use it for. So one is really this idea of keeping the brain active in this use it or lose it. Sorry, like in this use it or lose it kind of way. I'm very sorry, I'm a bit nervous. But the idea is really, if we look at bingo, for instance, it is an activity I might use with someone living with dementia, but it's not in this idea of just keeping them busy. If you're playing bingo, you have to be able to read the numbers. In the U.S., it's a bingo where you say B5 or B, and so you have to look at the letter, then you look at the number. You have to remember all of that. You have to be attentive of also, do I have a line or not? And so there are a lot of different things that come into bingo, which I think are also important when we look at dementia, and which really keep it, use it or lose it. And also when I look at bingo, I've used it with someone who, for instance, wasn't talking too much or things like that. In this, can you read me this letter or this number? Can you read this? And just this way, it empowers the person of, I was able to read the line for somebody else, or to assist in some kind of way. And it's not just the people who are in not too advanced stages of dementia, in really mild stages, who can play, but it's getting everybody to play and to use what they can still use, what's still possible. And then another way I use activities is more related to stress and to buffering stress or managing stress. So when I look at psychological stress, I look at it with the N.U.T.S framework, which is from N.U.T.S, in the Center for Human Studies on Stress. I hope I have it right. This center, I always say it wrong. But the idea is that you have 4 ingredients that can create stress in a human being. And it wasn't developed for dementia, it was really developed for human beings. And those ingredients are novelty, unpredictability, threat to the ego, and a low sense of control. And when we think about dementia, both for the care partner and for the person living with dementia, well, a lot of it is new, a lot of it is unpredictable. There's a lot of threat to the ego, because when your loved one is refusing an activity, well, kind of feels like a rejection sometimes, or things like that. And you have a low sense of control. Everything is present a lot of the time. And so when I look at activities in the idea of psychological stress, is first of all, trying to find activities that counterbalance the stress levels so that are familiar, that are predictable, that are ego safe, that give control to the person. So it could be something that is just a bit, may sound a bit silly or something like that. For instance, one that I have used in the past is when I have cold hands, going to someone who was a grandmother or grandfather and hand them my hand, find a way to just hand them my hand. And then the reaction is, oh, you have cold hands, let me heat them up, or let me. And so it provides this familiarity, it provides predictability, control, and ego safety. All of a sudden, I'm helping someone and it feels good. Everybody likes to help someone. And so that's one of the way I will use activities. And then the other is also when we look at stress again, we're building up energy. When we're feeling stressed, the idea of stress is to fight or flight. So you need to build up energy, and at some point you have to get it out to use it. And so activities help with lowering this energy, either by using it because you're doing a physical activity, playing basketball, playing darts, doing seated exercises or standing exercises, however is best. But you can also lower the stress and the cortisol level and everything by singing, for instance, because we know that belly breathing is a good way to lower your stress. Every time we're anxious, what do we say? Just breathe. But hearing someone when you're stressed say, just breathe, it doesn't feel always good. So singing is another good way to lower that stress and to have an activity that's meaningful. And it doesn't have to be relaxing music. It can really be any. I had someone with hold on. I've had songs, for instance, where it was La Bamba.
Yes.
Or things like that, where someone would be. You also, this one.
I love that. Yeah, I love that song. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really nice. And sometimes you have people who have this one song where they go from really being angry and being like, just get out of my way, which is all right, to, oh, I love that song, and start dancing. and it's yeah, for me, activities is really this idea of balancing out the stress, because everybody, when we're stressed, when our cognitive abilities are also lower, and so it's lowering down this psychological stress that's inside.
So it sounds like there's two really important bits that you kind of mentioned there then. So one is it's the kind of cognitive stimulation. And I think what you said there was quite important, because bingo is an example. Okay, it may not be everybody's thing, but actually it is the cognitional benefit as far as hearing the numbers, recognizing the colors, the letters, the coordination skills required to actually use your dabber. Now, I may not be able to do all of those skills, but I can still do some of those skills. But I might be sat next to somebody living with dementia who might be able to help me with some of those. So actually they're gaining additional benefits, as well as actually feeling meaningful in the fact that they feel like they matter, they're helpful, they're contributing. So I think that's really important. And I always use the example of bingo as well. Like, who puts out the pens and the cards? Because if it's the staff, you're kind of missing a trick a little bit. Going up to somebody and going, could you do me a favor? We're really busy. We could just do with putting the pens and cards out. Would you mind helping us with that? They may do it wrong. They may get it mixed up. It doesn't matter, but at the end, just going, thank you so much for that. That was really helpful, and that's made my day so much easier. So many people would feel like, oh, I helped, I contributed, I matter still in this world. So I think that's really meaningful. And the second part, as far as that, using activities for de-stressing and for improving coping strategies, the singing's a great example, isn't it? That we know so much about music, but I think sometimes people forget. I talk about when we're looking at things like life story work, that it's all very well knowing they used to like jazz, for instance, but there's that one track. So I like heavy metal music, right? That's my preferred music, and I'm hoping that if I ever end up in care, I'll be able to gain access to that. But Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen, which is completely out of my normal range of music, is one of those tracks that will get me singing. It'll get me invigorated. I dance because it's just my guilty pleasure. And I'm hoping my friends and family communicate that to wherever I end up in care, to go, like, if you want Andy in a good mood, play some Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. But that wouldn't be necessarily in my care plan for the preferred type of music. And I think that's really where you said about La Bamba. It's kind of like sometimes an expectation. Well, they'll like this music to listen to. That's different from the tune that comes on. And I love the fact that you sang a little bit of La Bamba there as well. That's just made the podcast go top 10.
We'll see about that.
So now, obviously, you've worked with people living with dementia in Switzerland, the US, the UK. What have those different care cultures taught you about engagement and connection, if anything?
So I'm going to speak more about my take-home messages that I've taken from each country or places I've worked at, knowing that every country has different cultures, and even within the country, I mean, Switzerland speaks four different languages, and so every place has different ways of doing. US is really big and has different ways, also depending on the state. But I'll just give my take-home messages by country. In Switzerland, my take-home message was really the engagement when you're doing during the care setting, like during the, let's scratch that. In Switzerland, my take-home message, because I was more in a caregiver setting, like I was more the caregiver than the activities leader at that point. So the take-home message there was using engagement during my tasks. So, for instance, when we woke up, usually we would wake the person. Usually we would wait till the person wakes up, because mostly the places I worked with were person-led. So we would wait till the person was awake, and then was getting ready for breakfast and going for breakfast. And was always using those moments of bringing the person to the bathroom or to the living room to have a connection and to discuss something with them, and to not just concentrate on I have to get this done, but really this is the best opportunity to connect with the person and to learn things about them, and to make it a good time for both of us. And I think that was my take-home message in Switzerland, especially because I was working as a caregiver, and those were the things where I assisted the person in. And I loved that. Just like,
it's making the meaningful engagement part of the task rather than a separate task, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like, you think you're going in to get a person showered, but the aim should always be go in and connect with the person and get them showered if they choose to.
Yeah, exactly.
and is it? I think that's something that actually needs to be included more in people's mindset towards care. If you're going in to get a person dressed, you're not just going in to get a person dressed. You're going in to engage and get the person dressed. And if they brought that into the idea of what your job is more, so that's really important. Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Florence.
Yeah, and I love that in Switzerland, it felt like this was really the case where, I mean, one of the examples I have is when we had someone who passed, and we had to get them ready for when the family was coming to see them, and I was still a newbie, and I was working with a colleague who kept talking with the person even though they had passed.
Right.
Kept telling them, okay, I'm going to bring you my way, this way we can do this, and just kept talking, and I loved that.
Yeah.
Like it's always an opportunity to connect, even when it seems like no.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's ingrained into their habit, isn't it? Yeah. Which is really important. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the US, I was activities leader there, so it was really more about finding the right activities for the person. And yeah, that's what I took from the US. It's the importance of having activities and why we use them, why we need them. And that's also where I learned about T-Partner's positive approach to care, which helped me a lot when it comes to dementia care and to dementia engagement. So yeah, that's what I took from the US, and then England. That's again a totally different role I'm taking in the UK, and I'd love to hear what you think about the UK. Actually, what would be the take-home message? I have a bit of mine, but
it varies significantly. I've traveled around the country and seen the very best and the worst in care. I think sometimes we are very guilty in the UK of getting and falling into that task-focused trap. We can be incredibly efficient and incredibly sometimes a little bit impersonal when we fall into certain traps. I think that's a cultural challenge for us. We're not always like, we can be an incredibly friendly culture at times when we're in the mood. Other times, as soon as we get busy, I think our default state is, right, need to get jobs done. Let's forget about interaction and communication and engagement. And that's not just with those living with dementia. I think that's with each other. I think that's people traveling on the tube in London. I think it's once we're in that direction, that's where I feel sometimes from a negative cultural point, that's where sometimes there's a bit of a trap. On the flip side, I think genuinely when you can appeal to us, we are protective. And I think that's one of the things about UK nature. We want to protect people. We are warriors, and therefore sometimes that's where we'll fight for the well-being of others sometimes. And that's not the meaning fighting as in literal like fisticuffs. That means like we'll act with passion to protect a person. It's that's my kind of take, my cultural take.
It's funny because it's kind of where I'm, one of my takes too. This, we're gonna fight for the person. Because for me, my take-home message at the moment, and it might change with time. I mean, I haven't been here for too long, but it's the idea of mental capacity and having the right to take risky decisions. And that's something that I came across when I was in the UK, much more than when I was in Switzerland or in the US. You have the right to take a risky decision, even if you have dementia, even in later stages or anything. Like if you want to, if this is important to you, then let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's good. I suppose that's the other side of protection. I kind of think of it as it's protecting a person's rights and protecting a person's rights to choice and liberty and freedom and stuff. Yeah, we can be, if that's the framework we're working from when we are passionate about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's every country. All of my take-home messages are, you could argue that it's right or wrong. Like
yeah.
it's
just different. Yeah, it's just different. So moving on to coming on to helping people to build connection, because there's many family carers out there and probably professional caregivers as well, who can sometimes feel like they've lost the ability to connect with somebody that maybe they love, or maybe they thought they'd built a relationship with, and then because of the nature of dementia, they're starting to feel like they don't know how to do it anymore. Where would you suggest they start with looking to build that connection?
I'd say meet yourself where you're at, in the sense that if something is starting to feel like too much, it's also okay to look at, okay, what for me feels new, what for me feels unpredictable, in what way is it threatening my ego, and in what way do I have lower control? And is there one of these, just one, that I could either reframe or that I could make less unfamiliar or less threatening in any kind of way? And just, really accept that you're human too. And this is a challenge. And just meet yourself where you're at. We always say meet the person living with dementia where they're at, but you can't meet someone where they're at if you don't meet yourself too.
I think there's a lot of caregivers that sometimes can feel frustrated because they don't know how to connect, but they find it hard to take that personal responsibility. They kind of it can't be my fault, I'm trying. So it then kind of almost projected onto the person they're trying to interact with, whether it's their fault because they're not meeting me, they're not doing what they should be doing. And even though rationally they know, well, I know they're living with dementia and I know this isn't their fault, but there's an emotional part going, but I'm finding this difficult, so who can I blame? I can't blame myself. And I think what you just said there is accepting that it's okay that you are finding this hard. Understanding and working with somebody whose brain is changing in whatever way is difficult to adapt to in that moment. It's not just something you just click your fingers and go, oh, you're like this today. We have expectations that are difficult to overcome. So I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anybody's fault.
No. That's another thing we're bad for, blame in this country.
Everybody, I think. In every country, we are always looking for who to blame, but it can really be just a human being. It's human interaction, and it's messy.
Yeah. Well, I know you've spoken about activities kind of creating a bridge over to the other person. So what does that bridge look like in kind of real day-to-day life?
I think it will depend on the person. It will depend on the need both of the person living with dementia and of the caregiver. To me, the bridge can look like, I'll give you an example of someone who might have trouble when they go visit. They are just avoiding visiting the person because the person doesn't talk anymore, and it's just so sad, and it's difficult to have a conversation. But I've always had conversations with the person. Every time we met, it was with a cuppa and some biscuits, and we were chatting and remaking the world. And now I can't do that anymore. So how do I connect? And in that case, it could be by playing the balloon, for instance. That could be a really good bridge that I've used with families, where we just started playing with the balloon, and at the end, after 2-3 minutes of playing, they were holding hands and just staying together in that way and connecting in that way. Other times it's playing basketball. And I have a video on YouTube where I show how I played basketball with people in every stage of the dementia. So even at the end stages, I've played with people basketball. I've played basketball with people, and it was a lot of fun. So that's one way to have a bridge with the person. It can be just holding hands together.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because one of the things that within my book, The Adaptive Caregiver Model, there were certain things I recognized that maybe feel much more intuitive when you're a parent. When you're a parent with a child, you don't go, well, what's the point in spending time with them? They can't talk. You just find a way of connecting with the child, whether that be playing with like a balloon or objects or something in the environment or whatever, or you just spend time smiling and connecting and being with them and laughing when they laugh and holding hands. And the whole concept that came up with the adaptive caregiver model is that's something we find maybe more intuitive that we do with a child. But then when somebody is at the end of their life, and they're leaving the world with the things that they came into the world with, we're still trying to hold on to what we think interaction should look like, rather than what interaction needs to look like in that moment. And I heard it put beautifully by somebody living with dementia that, it's no longer about creating memories, it's about creating moments.
Yes.
And it's just, you're not creating memories. You don't focus on creating memories with an infant. You just focus on enjoying the time that you have in that moment. And I think it's a challenge, and I get why it's a challenge, because sometimes it's a grief that we're dealing with in that moment, especially if it's somebody that we have known in other ways.
Yeah.
And that's never to infantilize anybody living with dementia, by the way. The comparison is very different, but it's the concept of engagement and presence isn't different.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I love this. It's about creating moments. Because I often use creating memories. I still use it. But I think I'm going to try and change into creating moments.
Well, that's it. For them, it's not, you might have memories of that time with them, but they're not going to have memories of that potential interaction. So it's not about creating a memory for them. It's about creating a moment of happiness, a moment of joy in their day that they may not be able to hold on to much longer than that moment, but it is going to produce certain positive chemicals in their body, which is probably going to last longer than the moment that you're there for. So
exactly. Yeah. That's also what I have one of my videos on YouTube where it's like often people ask why do I still visit if they don't remember?
Yeah.
And it's exactly this idea of creating the moments, because you still create the chemicals that go with the joy.
Yeah.
And I kind of compare it to when you have a vaccine. You might, even if you in the video I compare it when you do muscle exercise.
Yeah.
If you go to the gym and you do muscle exercise, even if tomorrow you don't remember you went and you did some exercise, you will still be sore from it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you remember or not. And the same is true with moments of joy with dementia. Even if you don't remember the actual event, your body still reacted to it and responded to it.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, the gym analogies. The gym analogy is good. Yeah, I like that. Now, obviously, sometimes, though, activities can kind of go wrong to a certain extent. Sometimes they don't work in the right way, in the way that we intend them to. What are some of the signs that an activity that we've decided on or engaging with somebody actually seems to be increasing stress rather than reducing it?
I think it's looking at the body language and at the verbal language when they're talking, really looking at first of all, when you start the activity, is the person saying they're interested in it, or is the person saying, no, I don't want to play? And then during the activity, if it becomes too challenging or things like that, they might stop looking away or just saying, I don't like this activity, or things like that. Or you can see that the person is not understanding what you're saying. Yeah. I think those are really look at every aspect of the communication, not just the um, not just the verbs, not just what they're saying.
I suppose it may confuse people, like when you're doing something fun, but then a person is actually getting agitated and stressed by it. But if anybody has ever been losing at a board game that they thought they should be winning, we know that anxiety feeling that even play and things that are supposed to be fun can create in us. If we think we should be doing better than we are. So if somebody's struggling with their coordination, they might be aware, I'm finding this game hard, which means I'm no longer having fun with it. It's making me feel stupid rather than making me feel joy. And I think that's where we need to be very emotionally intelligent to pick up on those cues, going, this isn't leaving those positive moments. This is actually creating stressful moments. It's reminding them of their inabilities rather than what we should be doing is trying to adjust it to focus on their abilities.
Exactly.
And I think that's, And again, that's expectations, isn't it? They should be able to do this. They may not be able to, which might be overwhelming for them in this moment. Definitely.
Yeah, and it's observing that, and I think also when you realize that the person is getting agitated, it's validating that feeling. And it's challenging, right?